The siege was over. Things would get back to normal. There had been a moratorium on all debts until after the siege. The government's first act now was to make debts, every debt, payable within 48 hours. Their second act was to give landlords the right to demand instant payment for all rents accumulated during the siege. So, at a swoop, hundreds of thousands of the lower middle class and artisan class found themselves bankrupt, and many workers lost their homes. Anger mounted as the government stopped paying the National Guard the £1.50 a day, which had made it just possible for them, unemployed, without savings, to exist. Thiers had the sense to realize the likely reactions, and he knew that the people, the working people of Paris, were still armed. This time their cannon really would be taken from them, for good, and without warning. Right-wing Edouard Mauriac was one observer. About 4 a.m., a number of soldiers went up to the Butte Montmartre and seized the cannon. There was no resistance. Not quite true. A guard post was captured and its single sentry shot. What's more, Louise Michel, the Red Virgin of Montmartre, had seen the regular troops arrive and was racing through the streets to alert the guards. The artist Berthal's impression. But most of the guns had been taken. And Mauriac goes on. The troops were now the masters of these famous cannon, except that the horses needed to pull them down into Paris arrived 2 hours late. How much was to hang on those 2 hours? My words. But Mauriac again. During this time, drums started beating the alarm, and a number of curious onlookers gathered. While resistance was being organized, people began offering the soldiers food and drink. Mauriac. Well, we've got images of fraternization. This one from that East German history I mentioned before can be a phony. The clothes, everything, are just too right. But this ragged sketch, I think the artist was probably there. Mauriac ends. The soldiers of the 88th finally raised their rifle butts in the air. This was the sign that the attempt to regain the cannons had failed. I'll just add what many historians leave out. The commander of the regular troops had ordered them to fire into the unarmed crowd. Instead, they pulled him off his horse and shot him in the garden of a private house nearby. A much-hated earlier commander of the guard was seized and also shot. This is the right house and the right garden, but the evidence is that the commanders were not shot together. One of many fakes distributed by the 1,000. I just hope this sketch wasn't another forgery. It was a stupid and unnecessary action, and enemies of the Commune made the most of it. An anonymous spy for Rothschild, whose Paris bank was to be in charge of the reparations, reported, "The regular troops came down into Paris, the butts of their rifles over their shoulders, laughing and joking with the National Guard. We all fought together, didn't we? Why don't you come and have a drink with us?" All over Paris, soldiers were casting off their uniforms and deserting, or joining up with the National Guard, or simply going home. The cannon of Montmartre, this time without moving or being moved by 1 centimetre, had played their part in the first stage of a social revolution.